But I will say social media doesn't sell the products. And really, one of the big things I've got out of being in this business is, growing my confidence. I mean, Jo was already confident. I had to get over a lot of fear to actually get myself out there and talk about the products. And the business networking actually has helped a lot too. So the growth and the development, taking yourself on, actually not stopping where you want to stop and keep taking yourself on, the personal development, that was me to quite a bit of personal development. I introduced her to the business networking. So, as a partnership, we keep dragging each other into the next level.
I think it's interesting, certainly for me, and I think for listeners as well, it's not all that usual to have businesses that have partners that sort of manage to go from scratch and build up and then stay together for a long time. What's your secret to sticking with each other when things maybe aren't going so great?
Oh, Vickie just does what I say. No, not at all. Again, for me, it's that willingness to talk about the things that a lot of times people aren't willing to talk about. So when there is something going wrong, sometimes we might step back just a little bit for, a week, say, and just let it ruminate with each other. But for both of us, being out of communication with anybody is actually quite painful. And so for us, it's really important to work through it. Now, just like a marriage, if we got to the point where we said, this isn't working anymore, we would do it in a way where we could be complete with each other, still have a relationship, but make the decision we're no longer going to be two natural ladies. But it's being willing to work through those things and actually not be right, to actually be willing to go, oh God, you're right. I mean, as in, Vickie, oh my gosh, yes, I was doing that. I'm so sorry, and apologize, and all those kind of things. So be willing to be open to having the discourse. It could be really uncomfortable, and then finding the solutions.
Yeah. The discomfort side of things, I think, is something that a lot of people would be going, oh my, not sure. Vickie, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I mean, you do need to be willing to be uncomfortable. It's like you're being out of your comfort zone. That's where, life is. That's where the juice of life is. So, and, the personal development courses that Jo dragged me into is what helps us now get through anything, really. I mean, we've been friends for over 30 years, as well as, in business with each other.
So that ability to have difficult conversations sounds as though, is that something that you developed over time with your personal development sort of courses and things, or is that something that you both just came with a bit of natural ability, or is it something you had to learn the hard way? Vickie, do you want to go first and then Jo?
Well, it's an interesting question because, the personal development course I'm talking about, I started selling the products when I was 21. And I was 25. I just had my first baby. I was 25 when I was introduced to the personal development. So it's been a long time, but it's really where we've based, our communication. And I do have and always have had a big commitment to communication, effective communication. But because of that, I've sought out and, different learning and things over time. But when Jo introduced me to the personal development we were doing, for me, it was like, where has this been all my life? I'm 25, but where has it been? Why aren't they teaching this in schools? This is really what we need in life, is learning how to communicate effectively and get along with each other. And then, everything comes from there.
And I don't think it goes away. We need it as much when we were our age as we were when we were in our 20s. Yeah, Jo, what about you?
Well, I think pretty much what Vickie said. I came from a family where we talked quite openly about sex, drugs and rock and roll and politics. And so I grew up in that kind of family. So that probably helped. However, again, the personal development that we've done, it just keeps opening up other things. And that whole area of don't know. And so it was not even being aware of how I was being that could be affecting you or Vickie or the people in my life. And it was just like, oh my gosh. But it is that willingness to look at that And when anybody is willing to do that, yes, you go through the uncomfortableness, but then the freedom that you have is incredible. And I think that's the thing, that people have to be willing to just go through that yucky part. The outcome is amazing. And anybody that has done these courses that we've seen, they come out the other end so much, I can say enlightened, but, it's an enlightenment that is ground in reality kind of thing. It's not like, people do those epiphanies. So, yes.
Yeah, and I'm curious, given the personal development and the fact that you work on a business together and you're both of you deeply involved, if you're working 7 days a week during COVID, my goodness, how have your families responded to just the personal development and the fact that there's a business going on here that can sometimes take precedence over family?
Well, personal development course that Vickie's talking about, my husband actually did first. He was not my husband at the time, and I gave him hell when he did it, going, blah, blah, blah. Then, of course, once I did it, I had to apologize and say, this is amazing. So he was, So again, the way I've talked about how Vickie and I have worked our relationship is how my husband and I have worked our relationship, to the point where after 41 years, we are no longer together. But we have the most amazing relationship because of the way we did that. And, when I tell people that we speak almost every day, and I've been sick twice this year, and he's been coming over and cooking food for me and all the, they're just like, oh my gosh, I know no other couple that have done it like that. So as far as Frank was concerned, he was a big support, and also a big support for me having a business and having something that was mine, and how important that, because I've got 4 children, Vickie's got 4 children. So yeah, but something that we were developing in our own way. So he was great. Having said that, there were periods of time when he said, it was great advice, you need to have a structure where, these are the times that you're available. Because I get clients ringing me, and I'm sure Vickie did too, like at 9:30 at night, Yeah. So what about you, Vickie?
Oh, look, my husband has been very supportive. The kids have been very supportive. I think, again, it's about communication, about them knowing what you're up to, what the vision is. And even my disinterested teenagers, they took a bit of an interest. They weren't particularly wanting to listen to us on radio, but, they were proud of what I was doing, what I was up to in the world.
And that's really lovely. And it's interesting to me because I have talked to some people whose families have just gone, why don't you just go get a job? And it's just like, there's nothing more disheartening to somebody who's trying to learn a whole bunch of new skills, build a business and earn money from it, to be told that they should just go and get a job. It's just like, well, am I a failure? What does that mean? Why do you want me to go get a job? So it's really lovely that your families have sort of responded like that. And I think in some respects, it comes back a lot to that communication side of things and being able to help them understand exactly what you are doing. And for people who are listening, if you've got people in your life telling you to go get a job, I don't know, maybe there's something that could be said or done to try and help them understand what it is you're trying to achieve and why it means so much to you. So I think that's really kind of interesting.